The following is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.
Thank you so much for downloading this episode of So What Do You Really Do, the podcast where I, your host, Dennis Mountler, speak with artists and entertainers about their day job. And this episode, I have comedian and barber Kenny Warren out of New York City on the podcast. This is actually back from October when I went to New York for the weekend and finally got around to just doing the tiniest bit of editing and getting it up. It was a great chat that I had with Warren because I don't really know very many barbers. I know a lot of stylists, a lot of women that work at salons and places like that, but I did not really know any barbers. Or at least the people I know that do hair and grooming and stuff like that, they don't have outside extracurricular activities. Like they don't need to find their creative ventures elsewhere, is what I'm saying. Because I think haircutting is a art to its own, maybe. I guess. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a coincidence. I don't know. But it was a fascinating chat with Kenny that I had. And after the podcast, we needed to rush out of there. And, we needed to rush. Kenny went, got in the car of his buddy who was just basically driving around the block for an hour during the podcast. And he got back to the show. We did 2 shows that night that he runs. One at Grizzly Pear and the other at, I want to say, the Lantern may have been. I forget the name of the place, but it was a great, awesome little basement room in the super dark, like absolute darkness with the exception of the spotlight. It was a trip hazard to walk around the room, but it was a good, fun time. Great audience. Enjoyed that. And the Grizzly Pear, we did that earlier. And the Grizzly Pear, you may know if you watch the HBO original series Crashing with Pete Holmes. Pete Holmes' open mic that he goes to in every couple of episodes where it's like the dude with glasses just eating chicken wings and not like barely acknowledging Pete Holmes like, I'm grooming you. That is the Grizzly Pear. So I did comedy at a place that's been on a TV show and they don't make it look very good on the show. However, it was a great audience and I had a lot of fun and met some cool comedians that I did not connect with. There was a comedian from LA who was hosting both those shows and she was funny, but it was a different type. Like it was very physical comedy, which is different and kind of weird. Some of it went over, some of it didn't, but it was good. I enjoyed it. I forget her name, and I should not have brought her up because now that I'm thinking about it, I don't remember her name. But Kenny was great. He was very funny. He puts together some pretty cool shows in New York City. Well, the reason Kenny and I had to rush out of there was to get to the shows, but I didn't rush as fast as he did because after walking him out, I realized I left the key card and my cell phone in the studios that I was borrowing, and I locked myself out, all right? I locked myself out of the studios, and it took security half hour, 45 minutes to find a key card, to verify my identity, to get me back up in there so I grab my gear and leave, so I could get to the show, do the shows, because I needed my stuff. Because it was Sunday night and I was going right from the shows to the bus to come back to here to Boston to take a train to go to work at 6 in the morning. Like I got into Boston like 4:30 in the morning, took the first train to work, worked till about 10 a.m., came home, napped for an hour, and then went back to work from 2 to 6:30 and then came home again that night and just promptly crashed out, I'm sure. But that was like the weird part about the whole situation with like security. They didn't have a key card anywhere. Like nobody could find the key card, and they didn't believe me because I'm not. I didn't have my IDs is not in the system, and I'm not a regular employee there. So they had to verify that I was just some stranger trying to break into the radio studios up on the whatever floor it was, and I didn't want them calling my boss's boss. Lent me the spec. She's like, yeah, come on in. But she didn't give me a key card. She just had told people who worked there, like, hey, this guy's cool. Let him in whenever he needs it. Hey, Dennis, here's the people to talk to on Saturday. Here's the people to talk to on Sunday. They'll let you in. And I couldn't contact them because I didn't have my phone. I couldn't, so I didn't want them calling my boss's boss to verify my identity and that I was supposed to be there because I didn't want to look like the idiot that locked himself out, even though I was the idiot that locked himself out. So let's jump right into the podcast with my conversation with barber and comedian Kenny Warren. You do a show called, you just came from taping a show called Comics Cutting Comics, which is, I love it because it's a panel discussion show. There's 3 comedians, but it takes place in a barbershop.
Right.
Which, by the way, we have 2 different ideals of growing up with barbershops because in the African American community, a barbershop is a community place.
Right.
Where, it's cutting hair is a cultural thing. For me, growing up in Baltimore County, all barbers were either girls who worked at a salon or old Italian men.
Okay. Yeah, that's
There'd be sports on the TV, but nobody was talking to each other.
No. That's a different culture. We talking about the black barbershop really in Harlem, New York City. This is like it's like a country club almost, and it's just that everyone's invited. But basically, it's no PC. We talk about politics. We talk about all the stuff that human resources doesn't allow in the regular jobs. That's what we talk about.
So let's talk about when you decided to become a barber. Because, again, was it a family trade for you?
No, it wasn't a family thing.
What makes somebody go, like, I get why a girl wants to be a salon, work in a salon?
I started when I was 14 years old. It was when flat tops was out. I cut my flat top off, went to school. Everybody was like, who cut your hair? And I said, I did. And after that, I don't know how. I just had a pair of clippers. I guess I got them from my dad. And he was just using them just to shave his beard or whatever. I used them to make money. I started charging $1. Sophomore year, it went to $2. Junior year, I started doing designs, cutting basketballs and people's name in cursive and Public Enemy signs and, maps of Africa and all that stuff in people's hair. And
Maps of the band Africa?
No. Maps
the
of
song
Africa.
by Toto?
That's we used to do the African medallions and all that back in the 80s. Yeah, so 86 is when I started, so I'm 30 years a barber.
Wow. So you just started doing it just because you're the one with the pair of clippers?
Right.
All right. What was the first, since you were, in the 80s was the designs in hair. That was very popular then. It's starting to come back in popularity now. What was the first bad design you did that you felt bad about?
The first bad design I did was when I cut this dude's his name was Aaron Washington. He was a good friend of mine still to this day. And I spelled Washington without the G in there. And I told him because he ain't got no G in him.
So,
it was an accident, though.
It was Washington.
It was Washington.
Washington.
It was Washington. Yeah. Yep.
How old were you when this happened?
I had to be about 16.
All right. Now, the big joke about tattoos is somebody spelling a tattoo wrong. If you spell something wrong in somebody's hair, it grows back. Or you could shave it off.
Right.
You can't start over with tattoos. So it's a much lower bar.
True, but
for mistakes.
It was so nice. It was nice faded behind the letters and all that, so he had to leave it. He had to leave it.
It looks too good to get rid of.
And only certain people only caught it. So, hey, man, ain't no G in that. And then, it'd be somebody else that'd be like, exactly.
So did you open, or do you own the shop that you work at? Or
No, I just rent a chair.
Because that's a weird business, the way that business works. You rent space from somebody else.
Yeah, but you're your own boss. So, you basically make your own hours, but it's just you have to be able to pay that $275 a week. And
is that what it is?
Yeah, it's $275 a week. But
Is that normal?
It's a little high, but I mean, if you have clientele, like for instance, we pay every Saturday, and by 2 o'clock on Saturday, I have it. I start at 10, and so it's not a big deal. It's just you get it out the way, and then the rest of the day, that extra money is yours. So it doesn't affect me as much. A lot of people got to put money to the side every day, and then that day on Saturday, then they give them the money. But instead, I just come in on Saturday, make it early in the morning, and then the rest of the afternoon is K-Dub's money.
Do you only work Saturday?
Nah, I work Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay, so you still do it, and just Tuesday through Friday, it's like, this is my weekly money, and then...
No, it's my job. That's my job. Comedy is my other job, but it's almost like I just finished college, basically, and I'm just I'm an intern. Let's just say that. I'm a little over 4 years in the comedy game. A lot of producing, a lot of sketch, and I do a lot of shows now. I'm past at Greenwich Village Comedy Club, so I do spots there. Last night I did the 9:25, 11:25, and the 1:25 a.m. So it's just work, man. It's just work. You just got to be out here doing stuff, being creative and innovative, and with all the social media stuff, you got to figure that out. I mean, I'm an old dog, so I got to figure out ways to get that social media following and all of that. So it's a challenging game. It's good though.
When did you? Because I know people go to barber school. They have to get certified.
Yeah, I went to barber school.
So you did go. Okay.
I went to cosmetology school, but I took the barbering part. It was just a barbering section. So yeah, it took about 9 months to a year But
It's kind of weird that you have to be certified to cut hair.
well, I understand it though. It's like it's because it's just I don't know. You got to be certified for things. I mean, for if you're an electrician, you got to go through some type of tutoring or whatever.
Yeah, but electricity can kill you. That makes sense.
And you could kill people with the scissors or the razor blade, or you could
But
do
not
some
while-
damage.
Not like, okay. Well, do you do straight razor
Yeah.
shaves? Okay. Not a lot of places do straight razor shaves anymore.
It pretty much. I mean, Spanish Harlem people like to be crispy. They want it to be as sharp as possible. So yeah, razors that's part of it.
I don't know, maybe it's different because I had, when I started shaving my head, because I got tired of going to the barber. Not because my hair was thin, because I got tired of going to the barber.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's why.
All right.
I beat my thinning hairline.
Oh, you beat it.
But no, I would look for places that would do a straight razor shave, because I hear it's really good on your head.
Mm-hmm.
It feels really good. It lasts a long time, but no places in Baltimore would do it,
Oh,
where I'm originally from.
damn! I don't understand.
I think there was some weird law about it, and probably because somebody screwed something up. But it's Baltimore. You give us anything that could potentially be a weapon, we'll use it as a weapon.
Right. I've been to Baltimore. I mean, well, I can't say I actually liked it, but it was okay. I drove around for a while. I was in D.C. for the Million Family March back in like 90. No, it was 2000, yeah. But yeah, Baltimore wasn't that bad. It was all right.
It depends on what area. Some
Well, it
areas
was
are terrible.
daytime too.
Yeah. But so when you went to cosmetology school at what age?
I was 25.
Okay, so that's a little bit late.
Yeah, well, I went to college. I played basketball overseas. I went to Cal State Bakersfield. We went, it was a Division II school at the time. We went to 4 Final Fours, won 2 national championships, 33-0 my junior year. And then I went overseas and played in Sweden. And then,
really?
yeah, and then I played in Columbia, South America. And then when I came back from Columbia, South America, I finished up barber school and started working at Terrell Brandon's barbershop in Portland, Oregon in '98. I worked there until 2003. Then I just worked at a random shop, and I moved to New York in 2004.
So you're not originally from New York?
Nah, I'm Portland, Oregon, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where you started doing haircuts in elementary school in Portland, Oregon?
Nah, I started in high school,
High
freshman
school.
year.
Okay. All right. So when you were doing, when you went to the school and you were playing basketball for school, what were you taking when you were in college?
Business management.
Okay.
Yeah, so but I was still cutting the alums. I was cutting the dudes on the team. I was cutting people.
That was your so cutting hair was basically your side hustle.
I
throughout
always
school.
had some money.
Yeah.
I always had somebody needed a haircut. Yeah,
It's the one thing that keeps growing.
yeah. The funniest part is when like the hairstyles changed in the late '80s, and I had to cut off so many people's curls. You remember the curls?
Jerry curls.
I cut so many curls off. I cut so many curls off.
I guess that's similar to the way, I don't think, trying to think, Jerry curls. That's definitely a black hairstyle.
Yeah.
And that went in,
But
quick and went out quick.
I saw a lot of white dudes with the curls too, though. It was like they just called it a perm.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But the perm's done with I'm not great with hair, but a perm is done with hot air and curlers, right? Doesn't a Jerry curl have relaxer in it? Not
yeah,
relaxer,
but
they
it's
have
still hot air
fluid.
and curlers. You
Oh, is
still
it?
have to
But
use
isn't there
yeah.
also not grease, but isn't there a product that goes with it?
Yeah, it's like some type of lye or it's like they used to call it a conch.
Okay.
Yeah, like Nat King Cole and them used to have that to straighten the hair out and stuff. But yeah, they just use relaxer so it'll straighten the hair, and then you curl it and you heat it so it stays like that.
Yeah, because I think a regular perm doesn't use the relaxer.
Maybe not. But yeah, I'm not sure. They might use some type of product.
Yeah, because women get perms all the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Very rarely.
Well,
do
they
guys get
probably
perms, but
use-
There was a small period of time where guys got perms too.
Yeah, I remember
But
that.
yeah, I don't think with in the white world, I think growing up, I'm 35, so I'm a little bit younger than you. I think.
Yeah.
The big hairstyle was for me as a kid was rat tails, and the
Oh.
flop.
Oh,
where
you
it's like
you
everything
came
shaved
up.
on the side. Yeah, I came
Y'all
up
wanted to
there-
be like Andre Agassi, huh?
Yeah.
That was y'all's idol.
For some people, I know he's a sports guy, but not me. But
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we had the big thing was also the flop, where it's like shaved on the sides and back, and then the top was left long.
Yeah.
So it would just flop over.
Yeah.
That's the only long.
Duran
patch of hair.
Duran.
Yeah, exactly. Or Flock of Seagulls, where you just basically put your hair
Oh,
straight
Flock
up
of Seagulls,
and then
yeah.
just push it down in the middle.
Right.
Yeah, we had ridiculous hairstyles.
Yeah.
They didn't even, I can't remember. I can't imagine them coming in and going out so fast like that. Because mostly we didn't do much with our hairs. We just let it grow long, and then eventually people would cut it here or there.
Yeah.
Now the man bun thing, oy vey. But where is your shop
I
located?
hate the man bun. Just let me say that
Let's
for the
talk
record.
about that.
For the
Please,
record.
tell me about it.
For the record.
As a barber and a stylist yourself, a man who knows hair, tell me why you hate the man bun, because I'm sure I'm on 100% your
Well,
side.
it snuck up on me. Number one, it's just like all of a sudden it's man buns everywhere. It's almost like when you get a new car, and then all of a sudden you start seeing that car all the time. And not that I have a man bun, but just the fact that like I hate the man bun. It's so.
As soon as you found out about it, yeah.
No, well,
Now
when
you
I
see it
just
everywhere.
saw it and I saw all this whole, and I think it's part of the culture of now. They got the skinny pants and they got the shirts with the ripped up shirts that look like they just lost a fight, and then the shirt is long
Meanwhile,
like
the
a
shirt
dress.
costs more than a shirt that has all the fabric in it.
Exactly, and then
Less fabric, twice the cost.
That's crazy. And then you got these damn man buns. It's so funny. I see a lot of lesbians that like the man bun. So
Women have always put their hair up in buns, and there's nothing wrong with putting your hair in a bun. It's when it became a movement.
but
When it
it's
became
shaved.
It's
shaved.
style.
It's a bun on top and it's shaved all around. So in essence, it's selfish. You got everything going on at once. It's selfish is what it is. But for $25, I will make you look like the best looking lesbian of all time. You know?
Where is the shop that you work at now located, where you filmed the TV show?
Oh, it's 124th in Lexington, East Harlem.
East Harlem,
Yeah,
okay.
it's Spanish Harlem, right on the cusp. But there's a bad block in essence because there's so much stuff going on over there. As far as they used to sell this K2, this fake marijuana, in all the bodegas over there, and it was basically placed over there by the government to almost like the way they brought crack in the 80s. And then after crack, they had all these abandoned buildings and stuff over there. They sold the buildings to people for $1. People like brownstones and stuff. People, that was a come up. You had to have the money to build them back up and everything. But now, brownstones are going for, $1.5 million, stuff like that. And they came up off of that. Then, the whole gentrification thing. So they basically like killed the neighborhood with crack, and then everything was low cost. And then you bring in these different people, and then everything goes up. Now the people that were there in the beginning can't afford to live there anymore. That's what gentrification is.
Oh yeah,
And
it's outpricing the people who live there.
right. So that's basically, I've seen that, and they're doing the same thing right now with the K2. And it has people standing outside looking like they're, out of it on drugs and all of that. And they're slowly but surely they're changing that whole Lexington block. Watch in the next couple of years, you're gonna find a Starbucks on Lexington. You're gonna have
Whole Foods.
Whole Food. Once Whole Foods is there,
Once the neon shine,
it's done.
Lights up that says artisan whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been gentrified.
it's been gentrified. As soon as you get a creperie there, it's over. It's over.
Dude, there's a creperie. The only creperie in Baltimore is right across the street from the worst neighborhood.
See what I'm saying?
Now it's not the worst. It's the
I
theater
know.
district. It was the theater district, and the Charles Theater was there. It's right across from the Charles Theater.
Yeah.
The theater is the only reason why white people would go to that neighborhood, because that's a very sketchy neighborhood.
Right.
But now they've started turning it around because
Exactly.
all the artsy kids from Micah would start hanging out in that neighborhood, so they wanted to turn around, gentrify it. But they're all trust fund kids that are living in that are squatting in abandoned warehouses.
Right.
Because, their art makes them do these
Yeah,
things.
the art.
Well, because mommy and daddy pay for
Nah,
for
because
a
their
real
mom
person
and
like
dad didn't whoop their ass when they was little. That's one of my jokes I always say. And this in the crowd, it doesn't matter if they are for corporal punishment or not. They understand when I say, if you don't whoop your kid's ass, they're gonna end up over on St. Mark's selling art. And that's like, it's so true. And it makes people say, you know what, maybe I will just go home. I missed the gym today. I just should go home and whoop my kid. You know?
I'll get that arm workout with that
you
belt
know?
swing.
Yeah, I was gonna do curls anyway. I was keep bringing them back to me.
Do you have kids?
Yeah, I got 2 boys, 22 and 17.
Oh, they're not boys anymore.
Nah.
No, they're men.
Yeah.
22 and 17.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. The oldest one, he goes to Oregon State. He was president of the Black Engineers Association, and he changed majors to bioenergy last year, so he doesn't finish until this June coming up. But yeah, he's a smart kid, man. Smart kid.
And 17, the 17-year-old,
he lives here with me.
Is this his senior year?
I'm about to send him to Job Corps in about another week. It's getting real. I mean, you know, when
Is
kid,
he being 17?
He's being 17. I mean, but it's like I don't get one break. You know what I mean? As soon as I walk in the bathroom in the morning, he's got his toothbrush in my toothbrush area. Like, why would you put your toothbrush? I don't care if I left my toothbrush on the sink. You don't put your toothbrush in my parking slot.
Put it in your parking slot.
Put it in your parking slot. Yeah. Then I get in the shower, and he's got the nozzle pointed all the way to the wall, so the water's flying straight back and getting water on the floor. And I'm like, why would you? I told you don't touch that. You just take a shower. I pay for the water and all of this stuff. You don't touch nothing. This is my stuff. You know, school called me last week. I'm like, school just started. How could you get in trouble already? I'm like, I took the video game, and you know I'm at work all day, and then I come home late a lot of times. So I don't care if I come home at midnight. Your curfew is 11. You be in the bed. You got to get up and go to school. You 17. Follow the rules, man. It makes life easier for both of us. I come in, you know, I've already taken the game. I bust in his room. He's got the video game in his backpack, but the controller's in your hand, fool. I see it.
He's trying to get into the backpack. The wires are coming out of it.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I ain't playing it.
Yeah.
Look for that console. You ain't gonna find
it. Where's the console? Where's the console? I'm like, yo, this is crazy. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Then like all he has to do is 3 things: wash the dishes, clean your room, and take out the garbage. That's all you got to do. And I won't. Anything else, here's $10. Do this for me. You know what I mean? I come in, the dish is dirty. I'm trying to cook something to eat for us. I got to wash the dishes first so I can cook something. Then I cook, and I go in my room, and I go sit and leave the door open and watch him creep in like a cat burglar to go get food in a place where he lives. And I bust out of the room and say, why are you walking like this in the house? Why? Why would you do this? What do you know you was wrong. Yeah, exactly. You knew you was wrong. You knew you should have. When I was in here washing the dishes and you heard dishes clinking, you were supposed to come in here and be like, Dad, I know that's my job. Let me do this because obviously we're about to eat, you know, or whatever. But he just doesn't get it.
He's a kid.
I know, but 17, you can go to jail.
Yeah.
You're legally ready to go to jail. You do a crime, you're going to jail. So at that point, responsibility comes into your life.
Does their mother live with you, or is she
No,
around?
No, I'm divorced, and I've been divorced since 2005 and separated since 2002, and I don't really.
And you have custody of the.
I got custody of the kids.
That's a rare thing a father has.
Well,
not because a father doesn't want to take care of his kids. Most of the time, the courts never give the father full custody.
Well, the courts didn't do it. They did it. They did it. Yeah, because it was a lot of things that happened. Like she kidnapped the kid, the youngest one, and when he was like 10 years old, flew him back to Portland, and you know she had already sent him to Texas, and then my dad lives there, and I brought him up here to New York with me, and I even went back to Portland, took him back and to stay with her for a week. And women sometimes they just let the emotional things just get to them, and so she came out here, did that. So that was another thing. So you know, you broke down the trust between the father and son, having him running out of the house. So I had to just figure out, you know, how I can twist all of this stuff into material. You know what I mean? Because you get angry, you get upset, but some stuff that's out of your, you know, out of your power, you can't get caught up in it. You know, so I don't know. I just kind of, I got different material just because all the stuff that's happened. And then, like, for instance, like my mom called me. I called my mom last year on Mother's Day. And we talked for like 30 minutes, and then right before we got off the phone, and we really didn't have a strong relationship because she kind of was like, well, she didn't kidnap him. He didn't want to live with you anymore. I was like, how does a kid have an opinion? You know what I mean? He has an opinion.
Opinion is who gives him the most candy.
Yeah, they said I broke his spirit. And I was like, no, I broke him from doing a bunch of stupid stuff all the time, you know? He knew better. Like, you guys' voice doesn't carry the same bass that my voice carries. You know, to raise a man, you have to be a man. You have to have some type of male figure in a child's life, you know, for them to have that, like that fear of the parent, you know what I mean? You know,
respect of authority.
Exactly.
You have to give them authority to respect before they can respect authority.
Yeah. So, and then I don't know, man. It was so crazy. And well, anyway, so my mom, she right before we get off the phone, she says, yeah, I've been trying to call you. You haven't gotten back to me. And she was like, yeah, I just wanted to let you know that your ex-wife lives with me. And I was like,
your mother?
Yeah. And I hung up the phone on her, and I was thinking like, damn, maybe my ex-wife was right. Maybe I am a son of a bitch. You know, I'm just like, why would, you know, after all of this stuff, why would you? Why would she go? Why would my mom take her in?
But
come to find out that my mom has cancer. She had cancer, and she wasn't telling me. You know, she was, trying, mom trying to protect my feelings, and and so
worry you.
So she basically was like, I guess needed someone around or whatever. I can't speak for them, but I'm just trying to give the benefit of the doubt, given the situation, and just kind of be a bigger person and just,
Did you move to New York because of the divorce?
Basically.
Okay.
Let me.
Because you were.
Well, I always wanted to, for my own ego, being a barber. People used to always be like, oh, Dante, Kenny Warren, and some other barber were always like, these are the three best barbers in Portland. But I always thought, like, Portland ain't really, like, that's not a big thing.
Not a jump off for being in a barbershop.
Yeah, it's like, so I read a couple books about Harlem and the Renaissance and all of that, and I always felt like that was the mecca for, like, black business. And I want to go there and see where I stand with the barbers, the best barbers in the world, with New York City. So I said, once I came out here, it was just like it was exactly what I thought, and the stance is kind of pretty much the same here too. Like now when people say I'm the best barber in Harlem, that means something to me. From like that means something. Portland, yeah, I'm from Portland. I love Portland, but it's 2% black. You know what I mean? It's not enough. But Harlem, yeah. I'll take that little accolade. Just like, winning the championship in college, You get a whole neighborhood saying you the best barber. And then you got the barbers in the shop that they want you to cut their hair. Like you're their favorite barber's barber. Then you that's that self-gratification that, you need sometimes.
Well, so what goes into making a good barber besides a steady hand?
Well, a steady hand.
Spell.
Well, this is what I was just talking about a little while ago. You got to be able to take a person's what they're trying to get done to their hair, how they want to be groomed, and you want to take that picture they have in their head and make it even better. Like it's almost like you have a different vision than them. Like your vision is 10-10, and you're making it even better than what they thought. That's what I can tell when somebody asks me to do a haircut and then I cut it and they like, oh yeah, this is what I was talking about. Like you took their vision and they've gotten haircuts and you took that to another level. It's just so sharp and also if someone is a fat person, you don't give them a skinny beard. You have to make, the shapes and the different things like the mustache and all that. It should be in accordance with the person's like size. You get a skinny person, they probably don't need the widest beard. You know what I mean? They're slim. It's just different things like that.
Plus, if somebody doesn't have a jawline, you don't want to build a beard that accent a jawline that's not there.
Exactly.
It'll get washed away in their face.
Then also you got to be a good ear, because a lot of people, they take their barber-client relationship almost as like a therapy session. They come and they talk to you about their problems, and they talk to you about their girlfriends, their wives, their families, their jobs. You're basically, you're a therapist as well. So they looking to you for advice. You got to have some. You know, it helps. It helps when people think you're a good person and you can cut their hair. It's like, yo, I got to go see him every week. And that's the thing about in the black culture. They get their haircut every week.
Yeah, I know old Italian guys will just get a trim every week, but it's the same haircut every week. It's just a couple clips, and they're mostly going for the socialization. That again is part of the black barber shop culture. Is that's a community place, and I never realized I didn't realize there was a different way to cut black people's hair and white people's hair until I went to I went to jail for 2 months.
Yeah,
I was sentenced to jail for a traffic violation in Baltimore County Detention Center. And in the 2 months there, 3-4 weeks in, whatever it was, they're like, all right, everybody, time to go to the barber. And it's just ran by inmates. So there's inmates who volunteer for $2 a day or whatever it was. Haircuts are free, but you're supposed to tip them, and tip them was from something from commissary.
Yeah.
Like stamped envelopes was the big thing. Maybe a snack cake or whatever like that. It wasn't required, but it's like, yeah, you got to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not required, but it's required. To do. And I sat in the chair and I was like, you know what? Can you just bust it down? And it was just two black guys doing it at the time. I think there was in total 3 black guys in the entire jail that does it, that do the haircut. And the guy asked me, he goes, "Do you want it with the grain or against the grain?" And I went, what? And the guy leans over, he goes, no, you don't. He's never cut a white guy's hair. I didn't realize there was a different way to cut black hair and white hair. Because as a white person, you don't have to worry about with the grain or against the grain.
But that's a hairstyle, because black dudes, I know you've seen sometimes it looks like they have these wrinkles in their hair.
Yeah.
It's called waves.
Yeah.
And you're taking a curl and you're brushing the curl and turning it into an S shape. And when a whole bunch of these S shapes, it looks like waves. It looks like someone threw a rock into a pond, and it's just waves. Now, when black guys get their hair cut and you have waves, you cut it with the grain. So that means you go hair
Back
grows
to front.
hair grows from a central point and then grows out. So you go down from that point all the way around, and that's how waves are made. So against the grain is when you go this way.
Back.
So if you do that to some person,
back,
when you do that to somebody with waves, you're either gonna cut them too short and it's gonna look choppy, but you can. I mean, some people do it, but it's usually not done like that. So that's just the difference. It's for the waves.
Yeah, but you can't do waves in the white guy's hair.
Right? It depends.
I mean, it's a different texture between.
If a white guy has curly hair,
okay,
because I've seen Spanish guys that, maybe. White guy would have to have some real kinky
really
hair.
Thick,
he'd
thick
have to be
hair.
Second generation. Maybe had a
Sicilian.
black. Yeah. Exactly.
Basically, anyone is Sicilian.
Yeah.
And maybe Black Irish.
Yeah. Exactly. If you got a little curl, you may be able to do it, but it's just I hate seeing white dudes with do-rags and dreads. You know what I mean? It's that shit don't look right.
My only problem with do-rags is they look ridiculous to me when they're worn inside out, and I understand you do it because you don't want those indentation lines, but it's inside out. Just don't make it with the band on the inside. Isn't there a way of doing it to where it doesn't get that line and you can wear it right?
I don't think so, man. I think the do-rag is way overrated. You don't need that. People just like them.
No, it's definitely a fashion thing. It's part of the current moment of.
I hate it. I hate do-rags on black people too. It's you look so ghetto with that. You don't need it. It's not needed, and especially if you got a do-rag and a hat on top of it. That is
redundant.
What are you doing? And I see people
it's wearing a t-shirt on top of a t-shirt.
Yeah, they got dudes got an afro with a do-rag. Now, granted, those dudes that really care about their waves and all that, all right, the do-rag does help, but you still got this line on your forehead.
Wait, how did the do-rags help with the wave?
It holds the hair down. So, easy way to get waves.
Did do-rags have a purpose and it just became
they actually work. They actually work. With waves is you could brush your hair in the shower because your hair is damp, and then so your hair is kind of formed. You're brushing it and you're training your hair. You're training it. Then when you put the do-rag, your hair is still moist, but it lays the hair down and keeps it all uniform with no spiky hair sticking up.
Okay.
Your hair dries, and it's almost like you're giving yourself a process.
Okay.
And then you take the do-rag off, and everything is just tightly pushed down and everything. So that's,
So it mats it down.
It mats
for
it down.
waves.
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of getting frizzing out a little bit from the drying process, from drying, you wear the do-rag to hold it down. So when you take it off, your waves are all down. Okay, because I guess when the hair gets up and frizzy, you lose the waves.
You lose the waves.
I never realized the do-rag had a purpose.
Yeah, man, we learn a lot, man. I'm gonna teach you. I'm a teacher. I'm here for you.
That's why I like having people on who do interesting jobs.
Yeah, man.
Some people is like, it's a barber. How interesting can it be? No. Well, let's talk about. You talk about in the first episode of the show, comics cutting comics, which we'll get to in a second.
Yes.
But, the opening of the show is talking about how the barber back in old West days.
Yes.
The barber was the dentist, the doctor,
bloodletter.
Yeah, he did all these other jobs, and then he also gave you a pop and fresh cut.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, you learn that when you go to barber school. They give you the barber history, and like the barber was like the doctor back in the day, basically. And the only thing you didn't do was open heart surgery. Basically, they pulled teeth. They did a lot of different facial things for people. So barbering, it's a very special part of black culture. I've seen like those shops in where's that? Downtown. They got Astor Place. They got a bunch of barber shops down there, and there's a lot of Russian guys and stuff. They look like they got a little culture there too, their own little thing. But that black barber shop is something else. And if you ever get a chance to check out Comics Cutting Comics, it's interesting. And now we're even starting to have a little more dynamic with it because we have all those other barbers that are at work, and they're starting to be a part of it, chime in here and there, and we're getting them, we're catching them, and it makes it natural.
Is he ready?
Nah.
Okay.
He won't probably be able to find the park.
He'll just keep driving.
He won't find the park. This is the midtown right here. It's not happening.
Yeah, well, for the listeners, your
co-host Larry Baya,
drove up here, dropped you off. We waited for him while he's just driving around the block to look for a parking space. He's like, "Just start without me."
Yeah.
Like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, man. Larry's a very, very funny dude, man. He's loud on stage. He commands that crowd. He's very instrumental in the Comics Cutting Comics show, and he has such history because he wrote on Frasier. And right now he's helping produce a show on A&E called Know Your Crowd. So for him to be even working with me is a blessing, and I feel grateful that he takes his time out and gives 100% for this project. He does a lot with the editing as well because he knows what they're looking for. So when we get these young editors doing it, he'll have it down to the specific time to make the cuts and everything. He's good.
Time coding it.
Yeah, okay. He's good.
Well, let's get into the show. Where did the idea for the show come from?
Okay, so I probably cut about 25 to 30 different comics. And people kept saying, "Man, all these comics coming through here to see you." It was like, "Yo, you need to have a show or something." Like Bob Kitson, who I do a show with at Broadway Comedy Club, coming up here on October 11th, actually at 8 p.m. Bob Kitson, he was like, "Yo, this would be a dope show," and we started throwing names around. And Larry and Barry Ribbs also, he was like, "Yeah, man, this is a show. So I was like, "Dang, what would be a good name?" I mean, I'm a comic, and I cut their hair, so we just kind of threw it around, Comics Cutting Comics, and it just fit. And then also, on the show, we also cut on each other a little bit. We comedians, we talk shit. That's the barbershop. Yeah. So it was that double entendre, and I'm a Jay-Z fan, so it's like, oh, that's perfect. That's Comics Cutting Comics. It couldn't be any easier.
It's essentially Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn, but in a black barbershop.
Exactly.
Which that was a fantastic, great comedy show. Which I would rarely have brought it up now, but it seems to get in this resurgence now that people are discovering it online because nobody's putting it out, but people are finding the clips on YouTube. And I've been hearing a lot of people discover that show. I watched it when it first came out,
right? And
I loved every second of it because it's just comedians allowed to be comedians,
right?
And that's one reason why, at midnight, is it's comedians just being allowed to tell jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's in a format, that's fine. And it's a game show,
Yeah.
he said with finger quotes.
Right.
But it's just, essentially, at the end of the day, all it is comedians allowed to be able to tell jokes. And it's so beautiful to watch as a comedy fan that you can watch comedians get to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So he was coming to town. You wanted to do a show together with him. Or with Grizzly was coming to town. You wanted to do a show with him, right?
Grizzly?
Grizzly, is that what you're saying? No, we're going to the Grizzly Pair.
Yeah,
I'm
the
terrible
Grizzly
with names.
Pair. That's where
Sorry.
we having a show tonight at 6 p.m.
Who was coming to town that you came up with the show? What was the name of the guy?
That came up with the show?
Yeah.
Larry Baya?
Larry
Baya, yeah.
Sorry. I'm terrible with names. Usually I have the pad and I write names and notes down.
All good.
But I'm on my right side, so it's not going to work today.
All right,
I got
cool.
all this stuff on the right of me because I'm in somebody else's office and not in my own home studio.
Nice office, too.
It's my boss's office. I could either use one of the studios where I run risk of having a problem.
Yeah.
Or I bring my own equipment and use her office.
It's a nice setup, man.
It's a good setup. The view's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, this worked out ridiculously too well for me.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. They're cool. I get to tell people I'm recording my podcast at Radio City Music Hall
Exactly.
next door.
Yeah, I definitely told Larry, yo, we got to go to Radio City Music Hall. We got to go do this podcast. He was like, Radio City? I'm like, yeah, it's right next door to there. Right next door. Nah, it's good.
I
though.
literally did the video where selfie video. Was like, this is where I'm recording my podcast. Looking at it and then just turned to the address in the same motion. I was like, next door. Next door, guys.
Yeah. That's funny though.
Yeah, this is the thing. Comedians, we all have. I'm sure now that when you guys finish the show, and you start putting all the episodes out, and people start catching on it, you're going to be introduced as your next comedian has a great show called Comics Coming Comics, and it's going to be your credit. I was just speaking with other comedians about credits, and I will tongue in cheek say, "Oh, well, I'm just recording my podcast at Radio City Music Hall," because it's people who know me know that I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
It's the funny of it is to over to the top point out that I'm not. But I know comedians who will use that as their real credit.
Well,
and that drives me nuts.
It's funny though because like I've been getting like booked on a lot of shows, and they'll be like, I have credits. I got the Wendy Williams credit. I hosted Ice-T and Coco's baby shower on David Tutera's show.
Oh wow!
But I don't use those credits, and people don't ask me. They just put people are on shows like Joking Off or Serious, whatever, and they'll put my name and they'll put Comics Cutting Comics. Like I created my own thing.
Yeah.
And then they put that up. Like at Greenwich Village Comedy Club last night, I did 3 spots, and they had the list of comics, and they had Comics Cutting Comics. Like so, it's almost more special that I built my own brand, and they respect it as a credit. They wrote that, you know.
Yeah, and it's great. It's a good show. How are you guys releasing? Because we were talking earlier about you guys are doing this all for yourselves. Like you're not making a pilot episode to pitch to a company. You guys are completely self-releasing this.
Yeah, we're doing it on YouTube and on Facebook page. We so it is us, but we got like a couple guys that are like, you know, doing pretty well in the comedy world. Matt Pavage and John Lasser. They kind of
Monroe Martin was on it.
Well, these guys are actually trying to get in those offices and pitch it for us. You know?
Oh,
what
really?
I mean? Yeah. So,
that's nice.
Yeah, so it's beautiful that the comedy community is like kind of coming together and want this thing to work. So, and then the next thing is we doing this comedy comic book where like we got the Just Us League, you know, instead of the Justice League, and then we got the Triple H who are the villains, and basically we'll just take these common day scenarios that happen with like police brutality. We'll do just like Law and Order. Take the stories and put our characters from the comedy world into the
From the headlines,
and then have like the Justice League just coming to the rescue, you know, and having the villains be so dynamic, like the Joker and the Riddler. Those dudes are just as popular as Batman and Robin, really. You know what I mean? Like
some people love them more than Batman.
Exactly, and that's how we want to. And I didn't have to like twist people's arm to be villains. You know what I mean? It's like I'll tell them, and at first they'll like, I kind of like want to be a hero, but then you got to think about it. This is a comic book, and villains are fun.
Dude, think about it. When you're talking about how popular villains are, when I would talk about the movie The Suicide Squad, which is based off a comic book,
Right,
and comic book character. Who's the first character that comes to mind? Harley Quinn.
Right.
who's a villain, who's the Joker's the Joker's whatever. She was a villain in the comic book associated with the Joker.
Right.
For some reason, I have a hard time saying the Joker's girlfriend.
Right.
I feel like some feminist group's going to get and say Harley Quinn was more than a girlfriend.
Right.
But whatever.
Feminist.
So yeah, but you had Will Smith in the movie, and Margot Robbie got all the accolades for her role in the movie.
Right.
I do comic book conventions all the time, interviews and just hang out on them because I'm an
we
nerd.
gotta definitely get you in that room and have you be a
Alan,
part.
you're twisting my arm.
And have you be a part of the process of because it should be good, man. Like I don't have a T-shirt with me, but like I've taken the comic book and put it on T-shirts. And even like some of the places that I promote, comedy shows at, they're like, oh, we'll split the cost of the T-shirts with you because you're promoting our spot.
Our spot, yeah. But yeah, no. Well, the thing I was going to say about it is the conventions is there's more Harley Quinn cosplay out there than any other character. She's popular right now, but throughout the years, Harley Quinn has always been a humongously popular character, and she's a villain.
Right.
That's one of the best things about it. All right, and then before we let you go, because we know we got a tight schedule, because you got to go back, you got to fight the traffic.
I was trying to see if Larry ever made it. He never.
You started comedy here in New York, then?
Yeah, I started in New York. It was by accident. I was hosting a book reading. One of my boys, Mitchell S. Jackson, who got this book, Residue Years, which just went off the chart. He won a bunch of awards for it. But I put together a book reading for him and his colleagues, and I just hosted the event. Mitch always was late, so I had to just kind of keep the crowd engaged until...
You had to vamp.
Right. And so afterwards, this comedian named Mike Brown, which is ironic since Mike Brown is one of the names of the guys that the police has killed in the last couple of years. But this guy is a comedian from Harlem. He asked me if I was ever interested in doing comedy. And I was like, well, yeah. And he was like, all right, well, I run this open mic. And it was over there with Monica Vita and Kevin Williams. And I waited like 2 or 3 weeks because I was like, listen, I'm not going to be in comedy 1 foot in, 1 foot out. If I'm going to do this, I'm going 100%. It's going to change my life because I know that whatever I do, I got to go hard or don't do it at all. And so I started going to this open mic every Thursday at 6. I was leaving work early, and I kept going back for about 2 or 3 months. And then they was like, yo, Kenny, you got to go to different open mics. And I was like, what? I'm loyal. I don't know what your problem is. But then I just started going to another open mics. And,
you in your head, you think that's right. It's like, I'm loyal to you. I'm going to come here. But you have to expose yourself and your comedy to other people. That's how you grow and make success. You can't work in a vacuum.
No.
You can't grow in a vacuum, rather.
Nah, it was it was within the next week. I went to open mic in New York Comedy Club, and this guy Steve Aarons just looked at me and was like, I see something in your eyes. I said, what? He was like, no, not like that. I was like, oh. He was like, yeah, you should do this show. And I didn't know about bringer shows or none of that, but he was like, yeah, you bring like 3 to 5 people and you get to perform. And so I was like, oh, okay, so I work in a barbershop. They all been trying to like come out to comedy shows for the longest. And I was like, I ain't ready yet. I ain't ready. But June 13, 2012, I came to New York Comedy Club. 27 people came out to see me.
Oh, jeez.
And it was like, they were like, after like 7 people, everything was mine. Yeah. So I kind of like, first show, I was like, dang, you get money for this and all that. And people was like, who is this Kenny Warren guy? All these people. And it was my first show. And it just, on stage, it was like that movie Wanted when the air was moving and he threw the bullet and curved it. And I just was on stage and the crowd, it was like a dance. And I was like, this is the feeling that I had when I used to play basketball in college. I'm doing this.
Did you, before that guy brought up, hey, have you ever thought about doing comedy? Did you think comedy was an achievable goal? Because some people don't realize that. Some people think comedy is just impossible to get into.
Well, something has to click for you to decide to do anything. And like, I'm in a barbershop talking crazy every day. People having a good time. People are always like, yo, man, you should be on stage, man. And I used to be like, yeah, it's just like small talk. You're not really paying attention to that. But sometimes people put stuff in the universe and it is what it is now.
Yeah, no, I talk to new comedians all the time who I run a website in Boston, bostonComedyShows.com, that lists every comedy show in town on a calendar site. And then I also have a page for open mic. So when I run into a new comedian, most of the time I was like, so how'd you hear about this? They either found my website, another guy who lists open mics, or they're like, I was walking past, they were doing an open mic, and I always wanted to do comedy. And that's the number one answer. Is somebody goes, I just stumbled upon this place doing this right now, and I want to keep doing it. So I will give them the card, go to this website, hit open mics, start going to other open mics. Because even with the internet, some people still don't know how to find those open mics.
Right.
You know, like word of mouth is still the number one way comedians get booked and keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like I got booked on your show because Christy recommended me.
Right.
She turned you over to me. Had I messaged you out of the clear blue, would have been probably less easy for you to go, hey, you know what? Yeah.
I get a lot of people messaging me like now. Because I run probably about 7 shows. Like I got bar shows, 2 uptown, 1 is an open mic, and I got like 5 shows there, and then I got a comic strip live once a month and Broadway once a month. So
7 shows a month or 7 shows a month. That's a lot of shows.
These are weeklies. The monthlies are Broadway and comic strip. The rest of them are weeklies or bi-weekly. So.
So you 7 a week and 2 monthlies?
I run about I'd say 6 a week.
Oy vey. Bless your heart.
Yeah, because I run 2 shows on Sunday. Like tonight is 3 shows, 6, 8, and 10. And I already had Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday open mic, and then Thursday and Friday, Saturday I didn't have. I just did other shows or house shows. But so yeah, about 6 a week. And then 2 monthlies, but
it's keeps hosting and producing.
Yeah,
that's a lot a week to be doing, man.
Yeah,
but New York, everything's a lot.
It is.
Like if you're only doing 15 open mics a week, then they think you're lazy.
Probably.
Which in Boston, it's kind of hard to do 15 open mics a week.
Right.
8 is achievable goal. 8's a lot, and it's achievable.
Right. Well, shit, I'm doing 8 shows this week: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 8 shows, and 3 of them I'm producing. And the other 5, I was just doing other people's shows. So this is what it is. And these is not open mics. These is great. Like Greenwich Village was packed. Yeah. Like hot crowd. Just, Grizzly Pear. That's PJ Lander's show. And PJ Landers is a character on House of Cards. And
now with Barbershop, because you're your own boss, you get to work whatever hours you want, which is, I'm assuming, beneficial for running shows, right?
It is, but I work 10 to 7. And that's just my set time. My shows usually don't start until like 8 or, and if I have to leave at 6:30, I will. But yeah, I try to keep to a strict, time and, just stay consistent. The grind is real in comedy, and the more you do, the more you're on stage, the better you'll get, the more people will see you. And then you all of a sudden, you're like in a situation where I started out where I was doing the bringer shows. And now it's like, I remember probably maybe like this time last year, I didn't really have a lot of shows on Friday and Saturday. You know what I mean? Like other people's shows. But now I'm booked up like a month out. It's beautiful.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Now your sons are old enough to know Dad before he was a comedian. Mm-hmm. What has their opinion been over the past 4 or 5 years since you've been starting doing comedy? So actually your oldest, who can go see you now.
He's been to a show.
He
came to a show at Broadway Comedy Club. So he's been to a show. My youngest hasn't. I don't know. I'll wait for him to probably turn. I don't know. I might let him come to one of these little restaurant shows, but he's just kind of like an introvert. He does his own thing, which isn't much.
Yeah.
So,
he has his console in his backpack and he sits in his room playing with it.
Yeah.
But what was their opinion when you started doing comedy? Because a lot of people's big apprehension on comedy is telling their family and friends, telling their closest people.
They didn't really say much. It was kind of like, Dad, you always been kind of funny. So, once my youngest son, my oldest son, and he's like, yo, just send me my shirt. I need the average black man shirt. So.
All right, and let's go on before we wrap up. Let's wrap up with this average black man, because that's that brings up the difference between the black cultural and white cultural is a lot of black comedians have a nickname or pseudonym of some sort.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Did you see that going in? Like, oh, well, Cedric the Entertainer calls himself the Entertainer. Was that instilled in you, or
yeah, I just like.
Or is it?
I used to be a promoter before,
Okay.
and like the DJ that I used to
People are
work
so good
with.
at marketing themselves.
Yeah, I used
Especially black comedians are so good at marketing themselves. I don't know what it is.
It's just you when you find something that you know, because I knew that if I call myself the average black man, people are going to be like, why you call yourself average? I'm like, it's an oxymoron. I'm a father. I'm a college graduate. I've lived abroad. I'm a barber. I'm a comedian. I'm a ex-champion in college. I mean, like, I'm an ex-high school state champion. My life is full of so much
Interesting stuff.
Dude, we
can sit here for hours, but we only have.
But what I'm saying is, it's other dudes just like me. So basically, what I'm saying is, the average black man is above average.
Okay. Yeah, my stage name is Dead Air Dennis.
Yeah.
Because I worked in radio, it was a nickname. Dead Air was the nickname given to me by one of the program directors when I was a censor for a morning show.
Yeah.
So when I started doing comedy, I kept it, and I got grief from a lot of people. It's like, no, black people are allowed to have a nickname. You're not. And I was like, dude, fuck yourself. I'll call myself whatever I want.
Yeah.
But also, it's a very oxymoronic one because dead air means silence, and if anyone who knows me, I don't stop talking.
Right, and that's what
it's like calling
you
a
got
big
the
guy
oxymoron
tiny.
too. That's the whole thing. I think I got to start explaining that on stage too, because people are like, "Why?" I remember this girl that went to Howard was like, "Why would you call yourself average?
I've
you're
done
funny."
homecoming parties for Howard University. They will get at you. Howard students are not.
She was trying to tell me you should big up yourself. You're a strong black man. I was like, I know that's what the average black man is. You know what we go through on an everyday basis? People locking doors on us and telling us the wait in line when we were there first and all kind of different stuff. And we still got to keep your head and be calm and be cool and be, if you know one thing, like, and if you came to the barbershop, we would treat you just like any other black person. You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing about, like, and this is the difference in the black barbershop and a hair salon. Because if I go down to a hair salon in Soho and I ask them to cut my hair, they're going to all look at each other like they don't know what the hell's going on in there. And they're going to say, you know what, I can give you a reference. But if any person comes up to the Harlem barbershop, somebody in there can cut their hair.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
All right, Kenny, we got a show to get to. This was awesome.
Oh, hell yeah.
And there you had it, my podcast with Kenny Warren, the average black man, comedian and barber Kenny Warren. That was a fun, interesting thing to talk to somebody who does a job, but that's that historic, that's old. And I learned a lot about hair that I thought I already knew, especially black hair. That growing up in Baltimore, you know a lot of black people. You learn a lot about hair. From their hair. And like I said, when I was in jail, I thought I learned a lot from those guys. Apparently, I needed to learn more. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're a first-time listener to the podcast, do me a favor. If you enjoyed it and you came here because you're a fan or a friend of Kenny Warren, or because you're a fan or a friend of somebody else who's been on the show and you're listening to other episodes, hey, thank you for listening. Two, if you could do us a favor, leave a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, however you listen to it, and subscribe to the podcast, because rating that helps share this episode with more people. The more people that get to hear it, the more people hear about the person that you came here to listen to. So I appreciate it if you did that. All of that algorithm stuff somehow figures itself out and works well, I guess. I'm not sure how that math science works, but it works somehow. So if you could do that, 5 stars it, reviews it, and do all the other things that you need to do to make even share it on your social media. Say, hey, my buddy was on this podcast and this is what it sounded like. Here's where you can find it. Link. I would appreciate it. I know my guests would appreciate it. I'm going to take a week off because I'm going to be in Baltimore and DC for the whole next week doing the Charm City Comedy Festival and a bunch of other shows. So May 11th, 10 p.m., Zizimo's in Hamden Horn. That's going to be where I'm doing my part of the Charm City Comedy Festival. And I'll do a whole bunch of shows also that week, which you'll find all that info at eventually deadairdennis.com. You can find links and tickets and things, all the places that you want to go to see me right there. By the way, if we are friends and you're in the Baltimore area, you just want to hang out, you can just give me a call. You don't have to come see me at a comedy show. I appreciate it if you did. I got some funny stuff that I'm talking about. I always have funny things to say, I suppose. Anyway, if you want to come see me do comedy, if you're in the Baltimore, D.C. area, deadairdennis.com. May 11th, 10 p.m., Charm City Comedy Festival. Just Google Charm City Comedy Festival, and you'll find the tickets there. They are on sale now for, I think, $10, which is, a steal for it. And then you can get like a festival pass and go to all the shows that entire weekend if you would like. By the way, I didn't know that people outside of Baltimore didn't know that Charm City was the nickname for Baltimore. Like every time I tell people, I'm doing the Charm City Comedy Festival, or I went to the Charm City Comedy Festival, they're like, oh, cool, where's that? I'm like, in Charm City, Baltimore, duh. And they're like, I have no idea that it was called that. Like, I assumed that was like the well-known nickname for the city that everyone knew, like how Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love, or how New York's the Big Apple and Chicago's the Windy City, and I don't know any other city nicknames. So maybe it makes sense that people don't know that Baltimore is Charm City. So anyway, thank you again for listening to this episode. I will be May 10th through the 17th in the Baltimore, D.C., Northern Virginia area, the DMV, my hometown area, doing comedy. So come see me out there if you are in those areas. All that info, deadordentist.com. Thank you again for listening to the podcast. Rate, review, subscribe, share it with a friend. Appreciate you guys listening. I hope you found it as interesting and as fun as I did. Thanks again. Goodbye.
We're getting sick of living in a fight, in a fight. Poke some holes in the tide.